Hi, my name's Jerry, and today I'm painting a scene based on a typical riverside Essex village. It reminds me of places like Finchingfield, those quiet bridges, brick cottages and reflections that feel so familiar in this part of the county. If you'd like to have a go yourself, the outline drawing for this project is available on my website. Now this scene works beautifully because the shapes fall into a clear, readable composition. The arched bridge gives you a strong focal shape, and the curve of the water leads the eye straight towards it. The cottages on the right form a solid block of shapes that balance the open space of the water on the left, and the figures add just enough life without taking over. I've kept the sky very simple so it doesn't compete with the main shapes, just a light wash to hold everything together. The trees behind the houses help frame the buildings and stop the eye drifting out the picture. When I paint a scene like this, I try to work for as long as possible without stopping to let things dry. That means planning the order carefully, starting with the big shapes, linking washes where I can, and moving around the painting so I don't have to break the flow. It keeps the painting fresh and helps the atmosphere stay loose and connected. Now all the information about materials and paints you'll find in the description below. So let's get painting. I'm using a new camera today, so hopefully it'll be a slight improvement on the last one. Very simple sky, watery mix with cobalt blue and cerulean blue, which is a cooler blue. Just giving the appearance of puffy clouds. Go straight over where the trees are. And just going over once. Then there's a reflection in the water below in the same wash. I'm using a Tintorella size 9 mop brush, which I quite like to use. Has a very fine point. Straight in with the light red. Going to put a wash on these roofs, and also use it for the walls. Make these buildings really stand out. They're really effective. Switch to a size 12 Escoda. That's an Escoda Perla. I'm going over these washes again, so this is just a wash in the pure colour. And now the bridge. Give that the same treatment. Light red. Just a little bit of water on the right hand side. I want that to be a bit lighter. That's where the sun's going to be hitting. All these colours will be drying out lighter, as you'll see soon. And now the reflection. Blue's dried a little bit there, so it's going to be touching, so it shouldn't bleed into there too much, if at all. All the time I'm planning here how I'm going to paint this so that I don't have to stop. Areas are drying, like the sky area. Did that first. Want that to be dry because I'm like to get on with the trees in the background. Watered this wash down in the foreground. Adding some burnt sienna to that light red mixture, and bringing in these the walls on the cottage in the centre. And then the closer cottage, just used a mixture of the two paints that are on the palette, really, the blue mixture and the light red. I quite enjoyed painting this type of scene. I think this is the type of thing that first attracted me to start painting watercolours, when I saw other artists years ago painting these typical English scenes of cottages, villages, rivers, skies, rural scenes. Using cerulean blue and a little bit of cobalt blue, doing the trees in the distance, and using the same mixture for the first wash on these shadow side of the houses, the cottages. Sun's on the left, so that's where the shadows are going to be on the right hand side. Same thing with this closer cottage. Just adding a little bit of dark. That's Payne's grey. Putting in the first wash of the shadow of this, what's going to be trees on the left hand side on the river. Trying to keep working here. Cerulean blue. And cadmium yellow. Just lining it up a little bit with some raw sienna. Made my own green there. Slightly cooler green. Putting in a tree. That sky area is dry now on the left hand side. Just dabbing away at the edges there, give the appearance of some leaves and things. Leaving some holes in the trees there, and then the same mixture doing the trees that are on the middle and right hand side around the cottage. Just carefully going around the roof of the cottage because that's just a little bit damp. I want to keep cracking on, getting it much done as possible before I use a dryer. You can see what a nice point this this Skoda has. Very good for doing trees, things like that. Now back in the cadmium yellow, adding that to the cerulean blue. A brighter green. This is the part of the painting where the sun's shining. It's not in shadow. Just merging that with a little bit of raw sienna. That's the grassy edge around the river, and doing a part the other side. Mustn't forget under the bridge, where when you look through the bridge you can see the riverbank, green riverbank in the distance. Very watery Payne's grey to do the road. It's going to take me a little while to do this painting, probably 5 or 10 minutes. A lot of my other paintings is about 50 minutes or so. Just added some sap green to part of that mixture, putting in the bushes at the front of these houses. Managed to cover quite a lot before it's dried. Now I've had to dry that off and just done a few pencil marks, which would be handy for you if you're going to be doing the painting. Give you an idea of the cloud shapes. I like to put some fine pencil marks in, paint the sky colour without going over it, and then let it dry and rub it out if it's just white paper. Once you've painted it, it's difficult to remove. And I like nice clear skies with pencil marks in, and just a few other bits and pieces, which used to keep the pencil marks in, but I take them out now if I can. That's the first wash on everything. All looks very bland. Needs a bit more contrast, which is where we're going to be going next. Now I'm using sap green and French ultramarine. And a little bit of raw sienna, which will give me a darkish green. And I'm going to be doing the tree behind the central cottage. Very much a feature of this painting. Nice dark colour, random shapes. Being careful to keep a nice line at the back of the cottage, because these trees are behind it, not growing over it. And make it a little bit darker with some more cobalt blue on the left hand side. Group of trees there. Back to the light red. I'm actually trying out a different light red to my usual Winsor & Newton PWC paints, which is not bad, very bright, much brighter than Winsor & Newton's light red, which is what you'd normally use. You can always tone your reds down with just a little bit of green. So if you want to take the brightness off. Just put a bit of dark colour there off the palette in the mixture for the roof area on that cottage, just to break it up a bit. Quite a large expanse of red there. And a watery mixture for the cottage next to it. Same thing with that, just add in some of the colours together. Just what's on the palette, really. Try and make this a bit more interesting than just a flat wash. Just moving that colour about a little bit. It seemed a bit too dark. And a very slightly watery mix for the walls on this cottage. Using some burnt sienna with the red mixture. Starting to put in this bridge. Bring that more to life. A bit more colour in it. Stopping where the shadows finish, which would be the shadows from the trees, and then putting in the reflection. Same mixture, quite strong. Lots of red in this painting. And I'm using a more watery mixture of the light red for this right hand side of the bridge. In fact, it's very watery. On large areas like that with the red, I just try and break it up a little bit rather than have one long flat wash, and maybe put a little bit of darker colour in the centre like I have there. Always looks a bit wrong when you first do it, but it dries out lighter. It'll blend in, and it'll make it make the bridge look a bit more weathered. French ultramarine, cadmium yellow, most of the paints that I use are Winsor and Newton, but I am trying others. Get back over the grassy area. You can see it's becoming a bit more to life now, becoming a bit more 3D, three-dimensional. Cobalt blue and sap green, which is a ready mixed green. These are Winsor and Newton. Nice big palette I'm using, John Pike palette. I'm able to leave large amounts of paint on the palette that I've mixed up so I can go back into them, which is something I like to do. Once again, dried it off there, and now going in with a mixture of the sap green, French ultramarine, really dark, lots of blue, as you can see on the palette. Really want to showcase this cottage. Light against dark always makes things pop, stand out. I'm actually mixing a little bit of hooker's green with this. Quite like hooker's green. Used it a lot for my green mixtures with other paints, but you have to use it sparingly, otherwise it takes over. Mixes well with other colours though. That's Winsor and Newton as well. Tend to use sap green more than I do that now. Putting some darks in the trees on the left. Not forgetting to leave those holes and a couple of little lines and dots. Tree trunks, groups of leaves. And I was going to leave that at the back there as it was, but it's a bit too light, so I'm bringing it in with this bluey grey mixture. Bring them forward a bit. They're not actually that far in the distance. Making sure I straighten that tree up. Going again with the dark mixture. Dark blue mixture on these walls. Whitewashed walls in deep shadow. Looks like you've overdone it first of all, but it'll dry lighter. This is quite a big brush I'm using actually. This is Skoda Perla, size 12, but it does such a fine point on it. I can do some quite intricate parts. Just touched up that on that cottage there. We just went over it with a tissue, clean tissue, just to take a little bit of paint off. Just break up that solid blue. Add a bit of interest to the wall. Going in really dark. That was neutral tint with Payne's grey. Really deep shadows. Really sunny day. Making the bridge really stand out. And going again, the back of the cottage, these trees, getting even darker. Yeah, I like that. That's much better. I put some water with this mixture that I had, the bluey mixture, and I'm going to be bringing it down. There's reflections. I'm using a quarter sheet Imperial Saunders Waterford 140 pounds rough paper, and I have my board on a wooden block, so it's at a slight angle so that the paints can run down a little. I'm using masking tape, and this is just regular decorator's masking tape, which I put onto the paper just before I do the painting. Don't leave it on there too long. If you leave it there for too many days, it might take the top off of the paper and spoil it. So I just put it on just before I do the painting, and then take it off immediately after. And then if there's anything that needs doing with the painting for touching up afterwards, it can easily be done just laying flat, and I'll work on it like that. Putting some darks in the foreground. Reeds, weeds in the river. Painting starts to take shape now. Quite nice form. And then there's these couple of people, not too fussed about. They're just shapes. As with all of this, just look for things in terms of, just look at things in terms of shapes. I'm using a rigger brush now with neutral tint, Payne's Grey. A rigger brush is a very fine pointed brush. Won't hold too much paint, so you do have to replenish it often. But you can get these fine lines for things like these, the handrail, windows. I do like this part, putting in the windows. Working from the top of the painting down, so that I've got no wet paint where my hand is on the paper. That's the plan. Sometimes it doesn't work out, sometimes I forget and smudge things a bit and have to sort things out with a tissue and water. Putting in these the windows and the porch, these old style windows, lots of separate window panes, lots of glass in the frames. And then I'm putting in a very dark shadow from the which the eaves are casting onto the walls. Now I've switched to what's called a dagger brush. This is a 1/4 inch kite brush. Jackson's paints I make. Holds lots of paint and has a very nice point. Good for trees as well. Get some real darks in here. That shadow on that red walled building, extremely dark. Really intense sunny day. And then back to the smaller rigger brush for these lower windows. Quite slow this part. Just taking my time, trying to get these small fiddly bits done, so they're fairly accurate. And just looking around the paper. Putting in little bits of grasses and things where I think it needs it. And there's another person there, which I'm putting in blue. Just putting in some more shadow. Just really take my time with this, getting it to look right. And then there's this shadow on the bridge, and I think it needs to be darker, the reflection of the bridge. So I'll darken up that shadow of the trees as well. Putting a few dots and dabs on the water just to break it up a little bit, and going over again with another thin wash of light red over this right hand side of the bridge and the reflection. As you can see, I've broken up the expanse of red on that side of the bridge now, so it's not just a flat wash. There's blues, greys and deeper shades of red there, giving the appearance of weathered red brickwork. Adding some warmth to the darks there. That is using raw sienna, Winsor & Newton. And I've left some white in this expanse of red there, the reflection of the houses, which is where there's some water lilies, reeds and things growing. And back into the reflection with some dark mixture, neutral tint. Well, that's still fairly wet. Starts to make the bridge look dramatic with its reflections. Now I've let that dry, and once again I've got my putty rubber out. Just lose my pencil marks on those windows. I do put in more pencil marks than I normally would for these paintings, because when you do your outline drawing, when you copy my outline drawing, it gives you more to work with. Makes it a little bit easier to do the same image, but I probably wouldn't do so many if I was just doing a painting. Very watery green mixture. Just doing some green stuff in the water. Separating these houses with shadow. In the distance there you can see it's just a line, but it does give the appearance of another house further in the distance. Just spending some time looking at the painting, seeing if I need to add anything else. What I'm using at the end of the painting now is white gouache to put in the ripples in the water. I tend to use this with my rigger brush and just dip into the top of the tube. Put a little bit of water on the brush and just dip into the top of that tube gouache, white gouache. Putting in these reflections in the dark, which will look quite effective. Try not to go too mad. And then going around the painting. Putting in some handrail in the white for the light against dark effect. And any parts of the windows I think need a little bit of attention. I can just go over with this as it covers so well. Thought I put too much shadow there on that corner there, so I've gone over that with the window on that with the gouache. Just brought the porch in, some of that nice light red, nice and dark. And then what I was looking at earlier on, thinking it needed doing, is just gone around putting in chimney pots. Taking my time with this painting. And once again, adding some more colour to the reflection and the bridge itself, making it more richer. Now removing the masking tape. Carefully pulling it to the side, away from the painting. To reveal the finished painting. I'm very pleased with that end result. Hope you enjoyed watching, and I'm going to give it a go. Here's the finished painting. Quite a lot going on. Took me a while to do this one. Quite happy with that. I hope you'll join me again next time. See you then. Bye for now.